Close your eyes and picture this. You owe a massive credit card bill, so large you could never realistically pay it off. Instead of panicking, you refinance it. Then you refinance it again and again. No payoff date, no final bill. Everyone around you agrees this is normal. That isn't a personal finance nightmare. That's how modern governments actually operate. Right now, global government debt is higher than at any point in recorded history. Trillions stacked on top of trillions. Numbers so large they've stopped feeling real. And yet, there's no panic. Markets aren't screaming. Governments aren't rushing to pay it back because they don't plan to. What they rely on instead is something called the debt recycling loop. Borrowing, rolling, and reissuing debt over and over without ever meaningfully paying it down. Once you understand how this works, it changes how you see the entire financial system. This matters now because interest rates jumped faster than they had in decades. Governments suddenly had to refinance old cheap debt at much higher costs. Headlines warned about debt crises and unsustainable budgets. And then, nothing happened. No collapse, no mass defaults, just more borrowing. That wasn't a failure of the warnings, it was the system functioning exactly as designed. Originally, government debt was simple. A country borrowed money for a war or a project, paid it back, and moved on. That world no longer exists. Today, government debt behaves less like a loan and more like a subscription. When bonds mature, governments don't reach into savings to repay them. They issue new bonds and use that money to pay off the old ones. Old debt exits, new debt enters. The total rarely shrinks, it just keeps moving. In the United States alone, trillions of dollars of government bonds mature every single year. And every single year, trillions more are issued. Not to fund new ambitions, but to keep the machine running. It's like paying off your mortgage by opening another mortgage forever. And the reason this doesn't immediately collapse is belief. Belief that governments will keep rolling the debt. Belief that investors will keep buying it. Belief that tomorrow's money will still hold value. Who buys this debt? Pension funds, banks, insurance companies, foreign governments, and central banks. These institutions need places to park massive amounts of money safely. Government bonds fill that role. Ironically, the more the financial system demands safety, the more debt governments must produce. Debt isn't a flaw in the system, it's the product. Interest doesn't force repayment either. Governments don't handle interest like households. When interest costs rise, they don't cut spending overnight or pay it down aggressively. They borrow more. And when markets hesitate, central banks step in and buy government debt using newly created money. No tax hikes, no spending cuts, just balance sheet expansion. Debt recycled, pressure relieved. Officially, this is called stability. It gets stranger. Governments often owe money to themselves. A significant share of U.S. government debt is held by the Federal Reserve and other public institutions. One arm of the state owes another arm of the state. Interest payments loop internally. On paper, it looks enormous. Functionally, it's accounting. That's why warnings about national bankruptcy often miss the point. The real risk isn't default, it's dilution. Inflation is the quiet exit strategy. When debt grows faster than the real economy, purchasing power absorbs the difference. Prices rise, money weakens. Yesterday's debt becomes easier to carry, not because it shrank, but because the currency did. That's how governments run deficits for decades without collapsing. They aren't playing a household game. They're playing a time game. You'll often hear that we're borrowing from the future and leaving the bill to our children. That sounds dramatic, but it's incomplete. Future generations don't receive an invoice labeled national debt. They inherit a system where debt is permanent, refinancing is normal, And the key question isn't whether the debt can be paid back, but whether it can keep rolling. As long as growth stays ahead of interest costs, the loop holds, until confidence fades. Debt crises don't start with math, they start with psychology. When investors stop believing bonds are safe, when inflation runs too hot, when political instability scares buyers away, governments must offer higher interest to attract capital. Higher interest increases costs. Higher costs demand more borrowing. The loop tightens. This is how crises actually form, not overnight, but through erosion of trust. History shows this pattern again and again. Argentina, Italy in the 1990s, Britain